And hey, everyone, welcome back to the Unfiltered Podcast. As always, my name is the Keb.
St. Joe, always in the hizzy.
And
I'm the Beeb.
All right, the Beeb's back with us this week for week in a row number 3. But we're glad you're along for the ride, too, with us this week. You know, guys, we tend to exist in the realm of the ridiculous, do we not?
Yes.
Well, maybe you all do, but
okay, whatever. We're kind of known for our nonsense, our willingness, and frankly, wantingness to have a good time. But every so often, we set aside that for a really good story from a really interesting guest, and that's what we have this week. Our special guest this week is a speaker. She's been on countless podcasts and YouTube shows. I could read them all, but I'm not going to. It's lengthy. And she is a near-death experiencer, if that's a word, with a super interesting story and detailed in her best-selling book available on Amazon or a bookstore near you. It's called Misfit and Hell to Heaven Expat. Please give a big, unfiltered welcome to MK McDaniel.
Oh, no, wait. There was a clap. There we go.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
Now, MK, that's her pen name. And her friends, she told me this personally, her friends call her Kathy. So is it okay if we call you Kathy?
Sure.
Well, we want to thank you for being with us. We've got a ton of questions for you, and we want to hear your story from your mouth. So I think, St. Joe, if you want to take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I can follow an introduction, right? But I really just want to, get a little bit to know you a little bit more. So I've done a little bit of research on you, as we all have, but wanted to find out a little bit more about your story and exactly what happened to you. You had a couple little questions that we could ask you to begin with. So tell me a little bit more on how you got into your predicament, so to speak. How did it all start?
Okay. The predicament started when my former fiance, who is still my best friend, gave me a call and said he had leukemia, and he was only 52 and a half and a very healthy person. He worked for a big company. He was way up there in the ranks, and this was a huge blow. And he needed 2 caregivers to go with him to Seattle to a research hospital, and asked me if I'd be one. And I said, you bet. So I jumped on a plane, went up there, found us an apartment near the hospital, and he brought up the other caregiver, and the 3 of us were going to be there, 2-3 months, they said. And it turned into about 9 months. By the end of this, the other caregiver had broken her foot, so I was taking care of both of them. And in a research situation, they give them all kinds of drugs and weird stuff. And he had a stem cell transplant. And so he would feel better, and then he'd get worse, and weird things would happen. In the middle of the night, he'd wake up and blood was pouring out of his nose. And we had a system whereas I'd grab the car keys and go down in this spooky dark garage at 2:00 in the morning and find my car, and then drive around the front. She'd open the door, throw him in. We'd go the 1.5 blocks to the hospital. I'd drop them off, go and find a parking place in their spooky dark garage, and then go upstairs. And we managed to keep our sense of humor about this. I just give you one little thing. One time we went in, that was the time he was bleeding all over the place. And the nurse came in and said, okay, now who are you two? And I said, well, she's the wife and I'm the girlfriend. And she was, what? And I says, yeah. And he says, I'm a lucky man, blood going everywhere. So the next time we came in, we reversed it. And I was the wife and she was the girlfriend. And one time we were down in where a group of people were getting treated. And this man was sitting next to us, and he overheard this. And the only caregiver he had was his wife. And he said to her, well, why does he get a wife and a girlfriend and I just get a wife? I thought she was going to kill him right there on the spot. But we managed to get all the way to the end, and then he died. And I was a mess. You can imagine. It was just, there was nothing left of me. And so I went I went back to my studio apartment that I'd been staying in, and I had been, thank God, dating a guy I met at once a month. I got to go out to a singles group once a month and dance. That's all I want to do is dance. Well, I met a very nice guy. Anyway, we had been dating. So I woke up one morning after he died, and I was really sick, and I couldn't figure out what happened. I got the flu. It went into pneumonia. I was up on the 3rd floor, no elevator, and I called this friend of mine middle of the night. I says, I'm coughing up blood. That's not good, and I don't have the energy to get down the stairs. Did you mind coming by and picking me up and taking me to the doc in the box? So we did that. But by the time I got there, there was no pulse. He had to carry me in, and they threw me in an ambulance, and I woke up, I don't know, a couple days later, and there's a lot of my family members came in from California and Colorado. I was in an oxygen tent. They said it's going into ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, which is also called lung failure. And they said she's got about a 38% chance of making it, but we're going to have to do some extreme things to her. So they said they were going to trach me and put me in a drug-induced coma. And it was total chaos. Everybody's talking and it's just a mess. And the doctor said, okay, now, shut up, everybody. She's going to be fine in the coma. All right. She's going to be able to breathe. And I'm going to give her white amnesia. She will remember nothing what happens to her. It's impossible for her to remember anything. Her brain's going to be just out. So my dad gave me a thumbs up. I gave him a thumbs up back, and I went night-night. And it was very strange. I don't know how long I had been in the coma. I know at one point they came in and said, she's not going to make it. You better come in and just say your goodbyes, which they did. But all of a sudden, I was conscious, and it was totally black, and it was dead quiet, and I had no idea where I was. I mean, it flashed through, my consciousness because my brain was someplace else, that somebody's playing a joke. They put me in a closet or something. It's not funny, but I was afraid to move. I didn't know if I was sitting or standing or what. So I just hung out and just kind of hung out more and more. And then all of a sudden it started to get a little lighter, and it was like a reddish glow. And I thought, oh, the sun's coming up. This is good. So I was staring at this reddish glow. And as it got a little lighter, it was a foggy situation, which is strange. And I thought, okay. And then it started getting a little uncomfortably warm. I smelled something really rank. I thought, what is that? And then out of this fog comes this, I don't know how old you guys are, but a Bela Lugosi voice that just said, do you know where you are?
Right.
My mind was racing, and I thought, I really hope I'm wrong. I'm going to take a guess. Hell. And then the voice came back with this booming, maniacal laugh, and I freaked out, and I turned and I ran into the darkness. I didn't know if I was going to walk into a wall or step in a hole, but I had to get out of there. So that's how it started.
Wow. That's interesting. So where to go, where to unpack it from there?
Yeah. Well, it was obviously hell for me. I didn't know I was dead the whole time. I was down there for when I got back from the other side. I woke up and I couldn't move. I thought, oh no, what fresh hell is this? And I had lost a lot of weight, 30 something pounds. I only weighed 86 pounds. So I had no muscle mass left. I had nothing. I could move nothing except one finger and blink. And I had this thing in my throat and a nasal tube. And here's my family. And they're all going, yay, mom's back and all that stuff. And I thought, what? What happened? So it was weird. It was very, very weird. And it was a good thing I couldn't talk. I'll go into that later. But once I got back, it took me 10 years to be able to find somebody that would listen to me, my story. My family didn't want to hear about it. My friends didn't want to hear about it. Oh no, it was the drugs. Oh no, it was a dream. But nah, that's 23 years later, it's as fresh as it was yesterday. That's because you experienced that in your consciousness, not in your brain. My brain was somewhere else.
So that's a really good segue or a question that you brought up. So when you were in this drug-induced coma, was there any point in time that you flatlined, that you were completely out, like scientifically pronounced dead?
No, and you don't have to be. I belong to a group called IONS, and there's thousands of us.
Yep.
But they accept that when you are in a coma, your consciousness can get a little loosey-goosey and wander. And
Right.
so if you're in a drug-induced coma, you don't have to die.
True. And I'm going to play
Devil's advocate.
and devil's advocate and for a fun little word
Pun,
here.
pun very intended.
Yes,
Right.
pun intended
Very
here.
relevant.
Yeah, because this is a fascinating subject matter to me, and then the fact that you said white amnesia was the drug that you gave, a very popular drug-induced coma that is given to a lot of different people when they're put in underneath for particular medical procedures. So when you go and you said you immediately went into this this realm, so to speak, how did you know that you were how did you know where you were? I mean, besides you said there was a smell, there was a sense, there was something about it. I mean, everybody has their own experience. Everybody has, not to say that, take anything away from it, but how did you know? I mean, there had to be more to it. And then how can you describe, or is there more that you can describe? I mean, I know you want people to get the book, so I get it.
No, that's not it at all. I want them to get the book so they can realize that from what I learned from this whole thing is nobody has to go to hell, right?
Right.
It's a manifestation of your expectations and what you've been taught culturally and through your religion and through your being brought up. And I am a Catholic, or I was
Right.
my whole life. And, from first grade on, we were taught you were going to go to heaven, purgatory, or hell.
Mm-hmm.
And then unless you were like Mother Teresa, you're going to probably do some time in purgatory, right? But if you
Mm-hmm.
say a rosary, you get 300 days off, in purgatory. And if you do something good, then you do that. If you do something bad, it was a math game, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I bought it. I lived by that. I understood it and I accepted it. And I just thought it was true. But when I got on the other side, and what happens is I have met and read a lot of, not too many, because not too many of us come forward, but about 1 in 5 people that have a near-death experience have a distressing one, but they don't come forward. I mean, who wants to say, hey, I went to hell? Isn't that great? So
Sure.
you keep it under wraps. It took me 10 years to be able to go to find the IONS group. And I went there and I was listening to all their stories. And I always only just heard the angels and the butterflies and the bunny stuff. And I thought, well, I don't even fit here. But finally, I was able to dredge up a few people, Nancy Evans Bush, Howard Storm. And then recently, with IONS, I have once a month, I have a sharing group for people who have had distressing NDEs or want to know more about it. So I've met more. And it's really interesting because I had scenes play. When I first came out of the darkness, I was like in New York City that had been bombed, or aliens had hit, or something weird. I was just standing there and I could see all these buildings that had fallen over and the windows were blown out. There was fires and people screaming. And I was terrified. I didn't know how it was like, Wizard of Oz. I was just dropped into this place. And I never, like I say, I never had any inkling that I was dead. I mean, because your soul is you. Your body is a car that you drive around in. So when your spirit goes out, it's the real you. And I experienced being in that place. I experienced creatures there that were threatening me. And then it seemed like every time I would come to a point where I had to stand up for myself or fold, despair, I would be, the lights would go out and boom, I'd find myself in another, usually worse scenario. The first demon I saw, and there was no other word for him, kept saying, you're not getting out of here. Just go ahead and despair. That's just what you need to do. You're not getting out. But something in me said, no, despair isn't, I can't do that. I have to keep going. I will get out. This is not going to beat me. That's the misfit in hell thing. So, that's kind of what went on. And the people that I've been talking to since then, they say, I had these segments, I had this particular thing, that particular thing. Over the 23 years since this has happened, and a lot of talking and studying, I believe that I manifested this out of the hellish experiences that happened in my own life. I took them with me. I made them bigger and better and worse. And that was my hell because I expected to be there. Now, this went on and on and on and on and on. And I felt like I was there about 2 years. And then I finally came to the last episode, which I did not know at the time was going to be the last episode. But I changed the scenario around inadvertently, synchronistically. And boom, the next time the lights went out and the lights went on, whoosh, I'm, in this bliss and joy and bright light with just swimming in joy and love is all I can say. It was the most marvelous. You can never experience that kind of love and happiness here on earth. So I was in heaven. I was there, and I was just shocked, and everything that had happened before was gone. And when I looked up, there was my friend who had died the month before standing there, and he'd had leukemia, and he'd lost his hair. He was all purple, and one eye was swollen like a monster. And there he was, and he looked great. And he wasn't 53. He was about 35, and his hair wasn't gray. It was brown, and he was wearing a sweater I gave him, for crying out loud. And I was so thrilled to see him. And the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, he doesn't know he's dead. Oh no, I don't want to be the one to tell him. But he read my mind, and he started laughing. And I thought, oh my God, he's dead. He knows it. That means I'm dead. I was so happy. And I said, let's go do stuff. Come on. Why are we here in this white room? What's up with that? And he came closer to me and he said, now, Mary Kay, which he always called me, you've got too much left to do. Cold water in the face. I said, what? I said, no, no, I was not leaving. There's no way I was going to leave. Boom. I'm now back in a bright light situation with my family wandering around, all happy that I'm back. They were saying, oh, we had this prayer circle going around the world to bring you back. And thank God I couldn't talk because I wanted to strangle them all, for bringing me back. That was the dirtiest trick they ever played on me. And it's not like anything you've ever experienced. And so it's so difficult. There's no human words that can describe what's on the other side. It's really frustrating, but I hope that helps.
I have a question.
Sure.
Many of the experiences that I've read about or heard about where people do experience heaven, even whether it's short or long periods of time, when they return back to their bodies, which is what you're explaining. Yeah. They describe themselves going into a deep, almost a grief, depression type of thing. Like they don't have emotion. They can't taste food. They can't handle it. Like they want to go back, and that's all they can think about. Was this kind of your experience?
Yes. I was so homesick. Heaven is home. And when you get there, you just know it. So to come back here, yeah, it was depressing. And I remember just continually crabbing about it. And one time I said to my mother, Mom, if I ever get this sick again, for God's sake, don't bring me back. And she says, darling, don't worry, we won't. And we're so sick of hearing about it. So, yeah, to finally find other people that had this experience was a real godsend, and saved my sanity, if nothing else. And then to be able to unravel why me, why was I the one that had to go to hell, and what was that all about? And it took, again, it's been 23 years, and probably in the past 5 or 6, talking to other people that had the same experience. And Indie ears will tell you, we all start off in heaven. We're all souls. We choose to come to earth. We pick our lives because we want to learn things. We pick the lessons we want to learn. And then we pick our soulmates. We all come down and, predetermined time. Every time I run into a podcast, it reminds me that the 3 of us had, a little meeting up in heaven. We knew each other, and we said, okay, this time down, we're just going to meet for an hour or so, but we want to touch base. So that's how I feel about me being here today, is that, yeah, when we go through that thing and become it into a human body, our brains, are so small. We can't even imagine what's on the other side, or in the universes and all that. But the consensus of almost everybody that comes back is that we chose this life on purpose. The other thing that you hear a couple of times from people is that Earth is the toughest gig. You got to be really brave to come down here. It's got to, I don't like to talk about vibrations, but there's a low vibration. It's very dense, man, that kind of thing. That it's tough down here. It's very difficult. So we're brave. We're brave to do this. And I was brave to pick that experience in hell, and so that I could come back. And this is podcast, I think 79 in 2 years. I thought, how am I going to, you've got too much left to do, Kath. Well, how in the hell am I going to do anything? I at that time, I couldn't even move or breathe, much less get this message out. But boy, when that first invitation came saying, well, you want to be on a podcast, I had to look it up. I had to Google it, what the hell is a podcast? And then they keep coming in. I just got back from the International Association of Near-Death Studies conference in Utah. Oh my God, talk about energy. Wow, you don't want to leave there. It's all that good energy, all those dead people, about 400 of us. Yeah, coming back is tough. But I got to do it. And I got too much left to do. And I figure when I hit that last person that needs to hear this message, I get to go home. So that gets me up in the morning.
When you talk about picking experiences, I find that interesting because I must have picked a good experience called Star Wars. And I am very much more interested in the dark side of the Force. So I'd like to take you back to hell here really quick.
Okay.
And I'm just curious, and I don't know in the due diligence that I did on you if I ever found this out, but did you happen to see anybody that you knew down there?
Yeah, you did the due diligence. I'm the only person I know of that saw 2 living people,
Nice.
2 relatives. Yeah, I was walking on this horrible road. There was this endless road with just rocks and dirt and stuff. And I would be on that between segments sometimes. I kept my sense of humor a little bit. I was the only one down there with a sense of humor, but I thought, am I on a treadmill? I mean, it looks like a road, but I don't ever felt like I was getting any place, but I would eventually come to a place. And one of them was, I saw a man sitting in a chair on the left side of the road. And then on the right side of the road was one of my relatives. And she was a young lady, and she was a wonderful cook. And I had smelled smelled this food or whatever. And again, not unaware that I didn't have a body. I was hungry. I was thirsty. I was tired. I was crabby. And so I saw all this food and I said to her, oh God, could you just give me a small plate of anything? I don't care. It all looks great. I don't want to take a lot of stuff, and a glass of water. I really appreciate it. And I said her name, and she looked at me and said, well, this is for the important people.
Huh.
I thought, huh? That hurt my feelings. And I thought, well, it's kind of shooed me on my way. And that was weird. And then another one, it was one of my relatives that really liked to look good all the time. I mean, she had all the stuff done and wore the makeup and the hair and all that, but she was a little trouble with being a caustic kind of mean person. So when I saw her, it was this like skewed beauty parlor scene. It was all the chairs and everything were all out of whack, and it was sideways. And I came trudging up and I saw her, the lights came up and there she was. And I thought, oh, this is, whatever. And she just looked down and says, well, you look like hell. Get up here. I'll fix your makeup, do your hair and all that. And I thought, no, you don't know what's going on here. Why are you saying that? What is going on? So when I said, no, that's not the important thing, you've really got to concentrate on working on the inside, she just started laughing at me, laughing, that mean laugh. So I just left. So when I got home, boom, 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 I am just reminded, you need to tell these people what you saw. This is messages they need to hear. Oh man, how do you walk up to somebody and say, I saw you in hell, and this is the message I got for you? Well, it didn't go over well with the lady that liked to look nice. And we had kind of a falling out over that. And it's been 20 years since we've spoken. The other one was she was in a very bad relationship, and her husband was always making her entertained. She had to become a good cook. So he could move up the social ladder where he was working. And she felt like she was losing herself, and other bad things happened. So I saw her and I told her what I saw, and she says, well, I got too much on my plate. I can't worry about something like this now. Well, it was about 5 years later. I saw her at Christmas, and she handed me a glass of wine. She said, all right, I need to hear about what that thing in hell was. So we sat down and talked about it. She says, oh man, that is so interesting. She says, I just felt like I was in hell at that time. And what you said about, how I was, losing myself and all that, she says, it finally gave me the guts to get out of that relationship. And now she's married to another guy and she's just deliriously happy. So, 1 out of 2 ain't bad.
I actually, since you brought this up, I have my own beliefs about eternity, so to speak, but I have this, in the Hebrews actually have this kind of belief of eternity, and it sounds very much kind of like what you've described, and the idea is that eternity is happening now. It's not something that's in the future so much. It's actually going on now. So like, the reason I say that is you're saying, well, we kind of live in our own hells, so to speak. And in some essence, sometimes we live in our own heavens in on the same token, not necessarily that they're the actual places, but we end up in these situations and things that are very horrific and not necessarily always of our own making. But we also end up, on the other side of the coin, we can end up in places that are very heavenly. Also, sometimes out of our own choices, but also sometimes not. Sometimes they're just given to us. And I thought I'd ask you about that. I because it sounds a lot like what you're kind of saying.
I think a couple things come to mind when you say that. There's always free will. And we plan things to learn things. What I got out of that for me personally is I no longer feel like a victim. When I had like my first child died when she was 2 days old, and I was so mad at God. Why did you do this to me? Why would you do this to a little baby? It was a terrible thing. She had all kinds of birth defects, and it was awful. And it took me a long time to just even walk in a church and be civil. I couldn't pray. I blamed it on God. Now I can look back at that and understand that the possibility was I wanted to learn empathy. What's that like? You have to experience something to have empathy. Anybody can have sympathy, but that's almost worthless. Empathy causes you to kind of stretch. And so not only did I learn empathy, but there were several of my girlfriends that also lost babies after I did. And I remember one particularly saying, these people come up and say, oh, you'll have another baby, and oh, you blah, blah, blah. I know how you feel. And she says, I want to strangle them. She says, but you say, I know how you feel. It's not going to get better for a long time. You will never forget, but it will get better. You'll learn to breathe again. And I can trust you. And I'm so grateful. You know how I feel. So that's how I've been able to take those things that happen in my life and see the wisdom in what I did there. I learned something. And then that kindness, gets spread out. And now when things happen, a stock market crash or whatever, I say, wow, wonder why I planned that. There's got to be a lesson there. I wonder what that is. I look at things a whole different way. The fear is gone. I know it's all going to work out right. I mean, work out human-wise, probably not, but all in all, it's all good. And when I get home, I'll be able, there's people say there's a life review. I wasn't there long enough to get one. But yeah, the life review is a very interesting concept. You get to see every second of your life, along with a couple of, guides or nice angels. There's no judgment whatsoever. You're just kind of like looking at the test results. How did I do on this? Did I learn empathy? Did I learn this? Did I learn that? Oh, wow, I did it really good there. Could have done a little better on that one. Then they turn the whole scene around and you get to relive your life as if you were interacting with yourself. How did that person feel when you cut them off in traffic? How did that person feel when you helped them, when their dog died? You get to feel what you put out. It's not really karma, but you get to sense what your life was about. What did you learn and what good did you bring? When I got back, I was still, I thought, shit, I was a Catholic. Now, before I figured this all out, I think, well, now I got to go live another 20 years and I'm going to have to go to hell, purgatory again, get that taken care of, and then go to heaven. I was really angry about that. But now I don't worry about that. I just know that it's just all good. And then we all get to choose whether we want to come back again. And if you want to go someplace else, I understand there are lots of universes and lots of planets and lots of experiences we can have. We don't have to come back to Earth. Somebody said that Earth was the toughest gig and not a lot of people like to come back here, but I don't know, reincarnation, it's real. You kind of, you're changed. When you come back, you can't get back in that box. Yeah, it's really kind of interesting.
So here's a big question for you. Why did you why hell first?
That's what I expected.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Because I'm getting and I'm not Catholic, so I don't really know the difference, but purgatory and hell.
Yeah.
You've mentioned both of them. Are they different places? Are they one and the same?
Well, they're made up. We were taught that purgatory and hell were the same place. It's just you get out of purgatory and you're left in hell. I don't know. Okay.
So hell is, so just from my understanding, because Keb already told you my limitations. I'm a literal person. Sorry.
That's cool.
But so hell,
they're
you
two
can't
different
get
places.
out. Hell, you can't get out of, but purgatory you can. They're the same place, but you get out of purgatory if you can get out of it.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to go. If you stop
No.
believing in it, you're not going to go. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's not real. It's just, it was a manifestation. God is all loving. And once you have that love cover you inside and out and know that God is all loving and all forgiving, there's no room. He never judges anybody. We judge ourselves. We try and make God human.
So wait,
And God isn't human.
which one is not? Which one is not real?
Which one is not real? Neither one. There is no hell
So-
and there's no purgatory. I'm kind of.
So
some people say there's a dense place or a dark place.
So,
But I don't know. I don't
So-
know. I'm still human.
but if hell is not real,
Yeah,
then how were you there?
well,
That's the big question. Then,
it's a
right?
manifestation, which means you use your brain to make something. There are people that say that this is not real. Our lives here is not real. This is a manifestation.
Wait. I took the blue pill. We're not in the matrix anymore.
Well, you are. We are in the matrix. Yeah, you hang around with the people that have been there and come back, and you realize this is a play. We all wrote our parts. We came down to play the parts, and then we go home. And it's really not real. I mean, it's real to us because we're humans and we're here in these bodies, but it's a fabrication. It's I don't want to sound crazy, but yeah,
Too
it's
late.
tough. I know. That's okay. That's cool. There's a lot of other people that think the way I do.
She's on our podcast. She's talking to 3 other crazy
Yeah,
people.
really kind of look at my company here. Come on.
Right. So,
It's-
but that does lead to some existential questions.
Sure.
For
like
instance,
like an existential question like this, whether it's purgatory, hell, or heaven. Did you ever run into a bar?
I love that you asked that question, because when people ask me what my heaven's going to look like when I get there, I said, we'll be in the bar. It's an open bar and all the hors d'oeuvres you can eat. And all my soulmates, that's where you go find me. That's where we're all going to meet there in the bar.
Excellent.
And
Sorry,
one
Dave.
lady, it was cute. I
no,
was
that's
in the Bible Belt, and she got on the questions or whatever. She says, "There's no alcohol in heaven." I said, "Not your heaven, lady, but in mine."
Well,
So,
Jesus and the disciples drank wine all the
just-
time.
his first miracle was, changing water to wine.
Yeah, he turned water into
if
it.
water, like people say, what do you drink? I say, I drink wine and water. Good enough for Jesus is good enough for me. I stay away from soda.
Well, so that begs the question: when you go to these conventions, does your heaven look like other people's heaven?
Yes, they're all, well, it's so huge. I mean, we can't even imagine. It's bigger than the universe and all the universes. It's huge. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, I think. My little mind came back with this, this about an inch and a half by 3/4 of an inch. And then there's people that stay up there for what they consider years and years and years and years. They go to the Akashic records and they, whatever. They come back with that knowledge. So there's no way our little human brains can really understand the enormity of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
We
So
just get little pieces of it.
I have further questions because
Sure.
before you said that none of this is real. Is that true, or is it just kind of if
It's a
none
metaphor.
if none of it's real, then what are we all doing here?
It's a metaphor. There's not a word for it. This is reality to us as humans, but we're not just human. We're spirits having a human experience.
Okay. Spirits are part of human beings, aren't they?
They reside in a human body while they're here. And then when the body dies, that perfect spirit goes home or goes into another body. But it's not, we're just borrowing these bodies. That the Catholic Church thing with, the resurrection of the dead and all that stuff. No, there's no bodies in heaven. I don't care how pretty and all that. There's no bodies in heaven. That's what, when I got back and all these things about the church, I was a devoted Catholic. I mean, seriously. it it started coming unglued for me. Some of the things that we were taught, and the Bible, the only thing in the Bible I can wrap my mind around or my heart around anymore is the Sermon on the Mount and the prodigal son. The rest of it is a history book to me. And I've done a lot of reading on it. And so it's really hard to deconstruct. There's a huge movement right now about people who have been religious and are now consider themselves spiritual. They're getting away from the religions. They're too many man-made rules. They're too exclusive. God is very inclusive. It's kind of an interesting time we're going through right now, really.
Kev, I think you have a book on that, don't you?
On what?
On religion? Don't you have a book on religion?
Probably not, huh?
No, he does.
You want me to get on my soapbox for 10 minutes?
No,
I don't think anybody fucking wants that.
No.
Anyhow, I do have really quick, and I'm not making a joke here yet.
Okay.
You have your book, and you read. I read another book years ago called 90 Minutes in Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever read it. They made a movie out of it with Hayden Christensen, and and kind of all of these in the limited Wikipedia and YouTube research that I've done. It's all these near-death experience. They're floating above their body, and then you see the white light, and you see their dad come over to them and say, "Hey, what fucking took you so long?" So, things of that nature. Did you, to my knowledge, did you experience anything like that or no?
Well, just my friend, that was over
there.
there. He was dead. Since I've been back, my dad passed about 1.5 years ago from COVID. He was 97. He wrote this first chapter of my book. He was an atheist till he got shot down over the Philippines and crashed his plane and was hanging upside down in a burning aircraft and said, "Okay, God, if you're out there, you save me and I will become a Catholic." Well, the Marines came out of the jungle, drug him out, and we all became Catholic. So no atheists in foxholes, that kind of thing. Yeah, I got off the subject. Sorry.
No, you're good. There are people out there, and I have to bring this up, and I'm not discounting your story at all, but there are people out there that are probably, and you've probably heard them say it to you, that this is all imagined. This is all, for lack of a better term, bullshit, and there are scientific explanations of why, somebody sees their life flash before their eyes, or scientific explanations for that. But from what I get from you is that you just know.
Yeah, they're blowing up those scientific things and coming out with a lot more. Yeah, it's you don't remember a dream 24 hours. How do you remember something like this for 23 years or longer for people? It's still, because it's not in my brain. I love atheists that say there's nothing out there, and when they die, it's going to be black and that's it. And I just say you're in for a good surprise. Be a really nice surprise for you when you wake up and find yourself in heaven and love, and you don't. That kind of bugs me a little bit. Is almost every atheist I've ever heard of that had a near-death experience, they went straight to heaven. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I'm this good Catholic girl. How come I ended up someplace else? Well, they didn't. They had no preconceived notions. They were, they just went there. Whereas I really thought I was going to go to purgatory.
Did you ever think that maybe that's where the Catholics go first?
No, I did. They asked for it, they asked for it and they got it.
Real
I don't
quick,
know where the rest of them go, but
I wouldn't be. And after this, guys, I promise I'm going to shut up.
Okay.
I have a book on religion right here.
Uh-huh.
It's written by a former guest of ours named Brad Goss. And I just thought this was a little funny anecdote. I don't know if you could see this, but it's called Religion Controlling People with Mythical Fear.
That's beautiful.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's
and
true.
it's available on Amazon.
Good. I totally agree with that guy. I do. We've got
Yeah.
to get out of that fear mode. Jeez, that's no
It's
way to live.
our good buddy Brad Goss. He's a
Yeah,
he's a
I
he's a
think that's
funnyster. But okay, I'm done.
Okay,
I have another question.
sure.
Can you describe the switch from when you were like, how did you get from hell into heaven? Like that story.
Okay. I had been gang raped by AIDS-ridden zombies, and
Wait, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Could you repeat
hell is
that?
pretty bad. My hell was pretty bad.
Did you say gang raped?
Yes.
Wow.
And you
So
wonder,
this was
people
your
say, well,
experience.
how did you know, you didn't have a body? How did you feel this? How could you be hungry? How could you be hot? How could you feel assaulted? It's because I thought I was real. It's just, it's kind of like, I like to use, I was a child and there was this bully kid that used to come up and punch people in the nose. You touch it on the shoulder and you try and he'd punch it. So I was terrified of this guy. I was a little skinny kid. So one day he tucked me on the shoulder. I turned around and he went like this, but he pulled the punch about a half an inch from my nose. And I shrieked. I fell back and I started crying and he's, I didn't even touch you. That's how that experience was. It was so real that I felt like I experienced it. That's the best I can do. Anyway, when that scene was played out and I was laying there and anyway, the zombies went away and this lady came up and not a lady, a demon lady, and said, get up, you're with us. And so I did. I had nowhere else to go. I was just about giving up about then. I kept trying to find ways out. I'd been in, I don't know how many situations going from bad to worse. I was really down about then. So I followed her out and there was about, I don't know, 10, 15 other ladies that looked like they'd been through what I had. And we started walking one behind the other. And this was in like trees and stuff. And once we got out of the trees, it was just this big like tundra as far as you could see, just, and snow on the ground and our clothes were all red and tattered and everything. And so we just followed and I, there's no time over there. It's really hard. It's just now, all the time now. So we were walking. And as we walked, it was snowing, wind blowing. And we walked until the snow was up to our chests. All right, walking single file. I can see us walking. And we finally get to this, godforsaken cabin out in the middle of freaking nowhere. And as the wind is blowing, it's snowing and cold. And she says, get in there. And so we all went in. We're sitting around on the floor trying to huddle together to cry. This is very emotional for me because I always feel like I'm still there. Just sitting there waiting. And she says, okay, now we'll wait for customers. Wow, this is going to be great. So I'm just sitting there and I'm really starting to feel like I can't go on much longer. I hate to give up, but I've had it. And I said to her, I don't know what it is. I've been here a long time and there's been a lot going on, but this seems like a particularly heavy, terrible time. Is there something I don't know? And she says, oh yeah, it's Christmas on earth. That's today. It's always the worst day in hell. And that's when it hit me. I thought, what? I'm in hell. And that's what this is. I didn't feel dead. Oh my God, this is awful. And I was still pissed off. And I thought, I just started singing a Christmas carol. I knew it would bug her. And I didn't care. By then, I didn't care. And so I started singing my favorite one, which was Away in a Manger. And I started singing Away in a Manger, no crib for his bed. And she turned around and told me to shut up. And one of the other ladies kept going. And we started singing the song. And we kept going until it's the little Lord. And she shrieked and jumped at me like a spider. And I closed my eyes because I was going to say the word Jesus. And I had not thought of God or Jesus or anything while I was there. And that was always, I had to really figure that out when I got home. But when that happened, that's when I burst into heaven. And that was the end of being there. I know God doesn't go where God's not wanted, and hell, he's not wanted there. It's, it's all I can do to try and figure out with the help of other people what I experienced. And it was just, and I won't say just an experience. It was a heavy duty experience that changed me. And I'm very clear about what I believe now.
So
and I want people to know, don't, skip the trip. Give this up. God's all loving and all forgiving. You're not going to go unless you think you are.
So I have some follow-up questions about that particular experience. Why do you think that she was so upset?
She knew what I was going to say.
Which was Jesus, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't want to hear his name.
Not there.
Okay.
Not wanted there.
So what role, I guess, in your new belief does Jesus have to play?
I like to think of him as my best friend. My prayer to Jesus is, I love you, Jesus, whoever you are. I don't believe a lot of what they were, I was told about the stories about Jesus. Nobody followed him around with taking notes. They didn't even start writing stuff down for 300 to 500 years after he died. So we don't really know, other than the fact that he was a wonderful person that could do some miracles, which people today can do too. I think he was an extremely, if I'm a little piece of God, maybe he was this big. I don't know. I'll find out. But he was a good.
The reason I ask is because before you were saying none of us really exist. This is all just kind of a play.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, is that also true about Jesus?
Sure. Everybody. We all, as humanity, it'll never be heaven here. We're down here learning to be. This is what they told me when I got back. If I said, I don't want to go to hell again, what can I do? I don't want any thou shalt nots. And it's be loving, kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're supposed to learn, how to be loving and kind. If you remember nothing else, when in the morning you get up and say, okay, today I'm going to be loving and kind, no matter what traffic I'm in, no matter what my wife says, I'm going to be loving and kind. And this is how humanity is going to evolve to a better place. But it's never going to be perfect here. That's just, it's school. We're at school.
So I got a question because I don't have a lot more questions, but so for you, you're saying essentially, from what I'm understanding, you're saying that this place really just doesn't exist. We're just kind of here.
It's not, of course it exists to us,
right?
But it's not eternity.
Oh,
eternity
so
is real.
Not part of eternity.
Well, our souls are, and all of eternity is God. Everything is God. God made everything. He's the black matter, between the atoms, energy. God is energy, the energy of love. And if God said, I don't want to have Earth anymore, and it would disappear. It gets
well. The reason I brought that up is essentially you did away with hell because you just said it doesn't exist, right?
To me, now, no, it doesn't.
Right. So you pulled the plug on that one. You said basically I can say as long as I believe hell doesn't exist, I won't go there anymore. Is that correct? Would that also be true of the alternate
heaven?
You could say heaven doesn't exist either.
No,
you can't.
That's not true. It's like on Earth saying there's no such thing as gravity. Just because you don't think there's gravity doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Heaven exists. God exists.
Well, do you see why I asked that? Because you believe that one thing exists, but you don't believe the other one exists.
Right, because all there is God. God is the energy that thought all this up.
I understand that. The reason I was asking it is because in your experience, hell was real. And then you experienced heaven. And then you experienced
real. It felt real. It wasn't real.
Right. So then my question is, if heaven also felt real, it might not also be real.
No, not when you have to be there. Of course.
I wasn't there. And the reason I'm asking is because I'm having trouble But that's okay because we're talking about
it's
things that I
huge.
won't understand until later on.
I know.
So,
It's taken me 23 years to get here. I don't expect people to if they can just get one thing out of there, that just because some religious person said you're going to hell is bullshit. That's all. Just get over it. Nobody can send you to hell. You can't go to hell because you ate meat on Friday. You can't go to hell for anything unless you want to, unless you think you deserve it. But God will not send you there. Can't happen.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You said earlier that God is all loving, right?
Yeah.
And he there's nothing but love, right? Well, if that's true, then why did the Atlanta Braves lose 3 in a row?
They planned it. They planned it to learn humility. I don't know what they planned it for. The Seahawks won, though. That was a miracle.
They did.
did they plan? They must have planned that.
I planned it. I mean,
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We can't take this too seriously. It's just so much bigger than we can, as humans, can really comprehend. We just don't need to make it worse. And I think religion for me made it a lot worse. I'm much happier being spiritual and just positive. We don't need any more negative in this world.
I think there's a lesson to be learned there, for sure. That's very positive. There is a lot of negativity. I suffer from that myself, so I need to figure out how to deposit that away and be more positive. So, St. Joe, you got any other questions? You look like you've been pondering some things.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah. So these two, they didn't really want me to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So when you came back, did you have any kind of superpower?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't say superpowers, but you are definitely changed. I think the most obvious one for me for a long time, whenever I'd be driving at night, I'd come up to a stop sign and one of those street lamps that are over the top. Every time they'd go out, I'd blow it out. You just come back with a lot of energy. Like at this conference, we have to laugh. There's all these, formerly dead people with all this energy. And you cannot go in any seminar. We had 250 seminars. Every single one of them, the mic didn't work. The video wouldn't go on. The heater shut off. I mean, it's just, you've got a lot more energy. I'm a lot more sensitive about people talking to me, that especially people I don't know very well, that's you say, how are you? And they say, fine. And I say, no, there's something wrong with your mom, in my own head. And I'll say, are you sure you're fine? She'll say, well, I've had this problem with my mother. So it's not quite reading a mind, but as much as reading energy.
You've become a medium.
No, I do. Well, you can talk to dead people anytime you want to. I've learned that. I mean,
it's difficult for them to talk back.
Yeah, they do in your head. They do in your head. And I am the only person I know that had, my dad sent me an email a couple months after he died. I've got it on my wall. Yeah, there are people that they'll hear if they were doing a tape recording or something.
Did he have an AOL address?
No.
I've gotten one that's really slow. So
Oh, okay.
It
was a very interesting thing to see it. 20 emails come up and one from my dad. What? I'd been talking to my mother. She's got dementia. Poor thing, she's driving me nuts. But I don't know, this whole thing. His mom's name was Mary, so he wanted to name me after Mary, and my mom hated her and didn't like the name Mary, so she wanted me named Kathleen, and so she would only allow me to be Mary Kathleen if they called me Kathy. So now with her dementia, she's forgotten that I'm Mary Kathleen. I am Kathy. Why would I name you Mary? I didn't like that. I would never do that. So we had a kind of a fight about it because I felt personal. So I got home and I got an email. And when I opened it up, it just said Mary. I thought that was kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
Well, that's a very Catholic name that you have.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So,
but
yes.
yeah, and then I know that he got a message back through my publisher, who was also a medium, that his mom and his sister came to get him when he passed. I had told him that I'd worked at hospice when I got back because I want to be around dead people, or dying people. I was so jealous. Oh. But anyway, what was that thing about? I was going to tell you. Oh, anyway, when the medium and I were going over our contract, this is just 3 or 4 days after my dad died. She says, "Who's Mary?" And I said, "Huh?" Out of nowhere. Me. She said, "No, the other one." I says, "My grandmother." "Oh, okay. Why'd you say that?" I don't know. "Who's? Does your dad have a sister?" And I says, "Yes, Aunt Virginia." "She did?" "Yeah." He said, "Well, he just wants you to know that it was his sister and his mom who came and got him, and he's fine." And I thought, oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think before we kind of finish this up, we would be remiss if we didn't give you the opportunity. What do you to kind of give you a chance to sum this all up? Like, why? What is the work, the thing that you were sent back to do, the message that you were sent? I mean,
Well,
if you were to say, this is it, this is why I didn't stay in heaven.
Because somebody needed to go have that experience and be able to tell people, quit thinking about hell. God is all loving and all forgiving, and he would never send you there. If you want to live a good life, you be loving and kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. And I've got that on a card if you would like one. I give that out on my bookmarks too. It's just simplify life. You don't need the fear. You don't need to live in fear of God. It's big. I was always scared of him.
Is that what changed in you the most?
Oh yeah. God's love. It's so wonderful to be there. Oh my gosh. It's under, well, anybody that's been there, you can't explain it because there's not human words for it. It's beyond anything you can imagine. Joyous and loving and fun.
Did you get to see God?
No, you don't see God. I mean, he's not human. He doesn't have a shape. God is just this light that is warm and loving and like a huge hug from your grandmother. You don't really see your grandmother. You're all stuck in her boobs and everything, and it's just this energy.
Wait, okay. To build on that here really quick. And by the way, I grew up going to religious school, but that has turned me into a cynic. So forgive me. But if God doesn't have a shape, then why did somebody put in the Bible that we were created in his image?
No, that the soul, the image of God is the soul, not the body. Us humans that think we're wonderful. That must be because we look like a human. We think like a human, but no.
Under that rationale, I'm God.
Yes, we are all part of God.
Can you tell my wife
home, that? You will be reunited to God. You're just a little part, Keb, not the whole thing. A little part.
We may have found our clip.
Keb, I will not tell your wife that.
Okay. I'm back and shut up.
I hope I didn't freak you out too bad.
Oh no,
you're good. Oh, this has been awesome.
Very informational, very interesting. Absolutely.
Where can one, if one would be so inclined, find you? We're going to put all your social media and all that in the notes of this particular episode, but we like to give all of our guests, a few minutes to tell people where they can find you, where you're going to be. Are you going to be on a book tour? You're going to a concert? Where can they find you?
Well, with COVID, podcasts is where you can find me. But also, if you go to my website, which is the name of the book, www.misfitandhelltoheavenexpat.com, there's a place that says, do you want to talk to Kathy? And you just fill that out and send it off to me. It's like one of my email addresses, and I'll get back to you. Or Facebook or LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm accessible. I'm always open to talk to people.
Excellent. Well, we want to thank you for coming on. Again, for all the filthies out there, the book is called Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. The author is MK McDaniel, but since we're friends now, we can call her Kathy. And Kathy, we want to thank you for coming on, especially on such short notice. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it was meant to be. Thank you. Nice to meet you guys.
Excellent.
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Nice
thank
to
you so
meet you
much.
too. And be waiting for an email from me tomorrow.
Okay, cool. And then do I get a link to this, or is this just totally live?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Then
Absolutely.
I can put that on my social media.
Yeah. So
Okay, good.
we'll have that to you tomorrow sometime.
Okay, awesome.
All righty.
Bye.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Do you say
And
God
there she
bless at that
goes.
point?
I'm
What's
not
up?
sure. I'm not
Do
sure
you
what
say
to say.
God bless at that point? I'm not sure.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but one thing I found interesting, St. Joe, is that all Catholics go to hell. You know,
we heard that we heard that while she we heard
yeah, no. You know how long you're going to hear that from me? you know.
Let's
You
keep
know?
the episode clean. Like let's keep it going.
All right.
all good.
Hey, St. Joe,
Do we have a stupid tweet of the week?
do we?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh baby.
Here comes the stupid tweet of the week.
This one had better be good because
So
it doesn't exist.
So fucking stupid.
All right. First one here. Why do so many murderers bury victims in their own backyards? First reply. Not everyone has the trunk space or gas money to drive way out into the middle of nowhere to dump their bodies. Check your privilege. We're all doing the best we can.
Nice.
Kwame says, do men still open car doors? First reply. How the fuck you think we get inside?
I like that one. I like
Z
that
says, why are men only nice to you for 3 weeks? First reply, that's the end of the free trial.
one. I like that one too.
Pakaloo says, how can you face your problem if your problem is your face?
Dude, you have got some good ones this week.
These are some good ones. Wow.
Mimi says, after sex, what's next? First reply, the S becomes silent.
Oh god. These are some tough ones. Wow.
Home is where you trust the toilet seat.
That's true.
Huh?
100%. You know what's going to happen.
I live for 2 reasons. 1, I was born. 2, I haven't died yet. If robbers ever broke into my house and searched for money, I'd just laugh and search with them. All right, guys, pick one.
Oh my gosh.
Turn down pitch.
The music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. I like the I think I like the sex and the S becomes silent one. That was pretty funny.
That was a pretty good one. I also like the door one. Guys who, why don't the guys open the doors anymore?
Do men still open car doors? How the fuck you think we get inside?
That one is pretty funny. That one is pretty good too, though.
That was the one where I, when I just read one and I just start cracking up.
Yeah, that one was pretty. What was the one after that one?
It was why are men only nice to you for 3 weeks?
Oh yeah,
That's the
trial.
end of
Free
the
trials
trial.
over. That's pretty good.
That was
too.
pretty good too. Golly, there's 3 in a row that were pretty good too. Ooh,
That's a hard one.
what do you think, Beebs?
Well, I'm sticking with the car door because I'm like, Kev, you got halfway through it and I was already laughing with the car door. So,
Golly, Kev, what do you're
I'm going car door, man.
You're going car door? All
I'm
right.
going car door.
You're going car door.
All
Car door
right.
it is.
all right, read it 5 more times now.
The Stupid Tweet of the Week, brought to you by the Stupid History Minute. Over 150 episodes. We're about halfway through. And did you listen to the Progressive Field one yesterday? But brought to you by the Stupid Tweet of the Week. Over 100 episodes wherever you download great podcasts. Do men still open car doors? How the fuck do you think we get inside?
Nice.
All righty.
Hey, you know what? Let's give a little shout out to the Two Penny. You know, he's probably grieving a little bit on his long flight back.
That was rough.
It was a sad day for the Denver Broncos. Russell
Here's the
Wilson.
fucking deal, though. They did it to themselves. Okay,
They did.
they hired Nathaniel Hackett. To put that into perspective, 2 years ago, Nathaniel Hackett was the offensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. But
Then he went to Green Bay. He had Aaron
Mhm.
Rodgers. How can you not win with that with Aaron Rodgers?
yeah, I get it. But I mean, you know,
He beat the
hopefully he
Bears.
had a good time at the game. Got to see some, you know, halfway decent football, but he saw some really crappy football too. So, you know, hopefully,
If that game's in Denver,
They
they
win.
smoke them.
No, they win by 20, I bet.
Yeah,
yeah,
if
that
game's
guy
in Denver.
kicks a 64-yard field goal to win the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Well,
can't
he had the
believe-
leg. He almost made
Yeah.
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so
but
back to our guest MK McDaniel and what she said about God is all loving. No, because the Gators lost, the Jags lost, the Braves have lost 3 in a row. Wisconsin lost.
oh,
That
that was a terrible game.
Oklahoma won, and so
from the
maybe
depths
we're still in his graces.
from the depths of the living room, I just heard the Roll Tide.
Oh boy.
From
And Pittsburgh pulled out a miracle.
Yeah, she must be just vibing right now.
That was
Yeah,
ridiculous. So
the Tide win by 1. The Steelers win by the skin of their fucking teeth.
And I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you, neither of those teams deserved to win over the weekend. Neither
God
team
was-
deserved it.
Yeah,
he was definitely on their side for that one.
yeah.
But yeah.
They have Mitch Trubisky now.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
didn't do terrible. But
Yeah.
you know, yeah. He got
I
like
don't know.
$5 million to go over there.
Maybe he's Catholic. Maybe he can go to hell first.
Whoa.
Just kidding.
Whoa.
You know how many?
Interesting.
I'm going to go over to St. Joseph's Catholic Church and explain to them that they're all going to hell first.
I mean, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good episode. I thought it was
Oh, yeah.
interesting. I thought there was some great comments and some points made. So yeah, I mean, I think that was a good. Where'd you pick that? Where'd you find that guest, Kev?
I'm a wizard.
Oh,
Bam, he's a
Wow.
wizard.
Yeah.
did you find him? Did you find him with the Lucky Charms?
Well, I'm not going to give away my sources. I'll tell you offline.
Okay.
You
got
because
him,
then everybody will get my sources, and then we don't get all the good guests. I will tell you this came from the same source that brought us
Oh yeah,
most of our guests before.
yeah. That's right. Cool.
But
Yeah.
but
Oh wait, was that? I know where it was. It was on the Geeky Dad podcast. Is that right?
okay, okay.
I'm kidding you.
Uh,
I'm kidding you.
Eve,
I just wanted to point out the elephant in the room.
okay. Eves, what'd you think? You got Beef shaking his head, man. Now St. Joe's doing elephant voices.
For heaven's sake.
Mr. Snuffleupagus.
Okay. See, now Beeves isn't going to come on for another, 6 months now because, you're talking nonsense.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
I didn't even hear it because I don't care what he says. So
Okay.
anyway, yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Always love hearing other people's points of views, right?
You fucking people. Okay. I can't even, I'm about to mute my. I'm sorry, Beeves. I apologize. I had to take my glasses off. Oh my God. Hey, I got a question for you, really quick, Beebs, before you finish your thought. Do men still open car doors?
Yeah. Yeah, they do. That's how they get in the car. You can
Okay.
say it the way you want to say it, though. That's all right.
I just read what's on the damn page. You know?
Attaboy.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Nice
How
to
the
know you
fuck
can
you
still
think we get
read.
inside?
Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, Beebs,
Oh,
what
man.
did you think about our guest tonight?
Seems like a fabulous lady. Her viewpoints are interesting. And I never, one of the rules is, and I think I told you this, Kev, is I never discount somebody's experience. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I think the temptation is to be real cynical or too skeptical and say, well, this all sounds, like it can't be real. But the truth is she experienced it.
Yeah.
And that's real. So
I thought you were gonna blow your lid when she said that the Bible is just a historical book.
oh well, no, she wouldn't be the first person who told me that. So
Yeah, but you can look at the Bible as a historical document. You know what I'm saying? You can take, I mean, you want to see an example? Listen to the Stupid History Minute coming up in a couple of weeks, because you could take religious implication. That was a shameless plug, by the way. You could take religious implications aside and use it as a historical document.
Sure. Yeah, there's actually lots of history inside the pages of
ton
the
of it.
Bible. For sure.
Yeah.
Like that world history that we wouldn't know anything about unless it was there.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to use that in St. Joe's 5-minute blessings coming out soon.
I can't wait.
Sprinkled all over.
Yeah, he's gonna touch them all.
Touch them all.
You know.
First guest, Joseph McSuckock. So, yep.
Beebs, I'm
It's all
sorry.
good.
Were you finished with your thought?
I was.
Oh, he's finished.
Okay. I thought she was very interesting. One of our more interesting people. I know that some people are out there being like, "Damn, they're serious tonight," but it's not called the Unfiltered Laugh for an hour and a half. It's called Unfiltered for a reason. That we can get some serious. Hopefully, we kept it a little on the lighter side. Hopefully, but I thought she was good. Very, very, very interesting story, and I'm very glad that we had her on.
I think it's nice that we expanded our horizons.
Yeah, and I honestly her energy and her vibes were very, very positive, which is which is a nice addition.
Yeah.
If you know what I
because
mean.
fuck this shit.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at right there.
Wait, whale dicks. I'm gonna get that in for Jay.
Yeah, let me take about 10 minutes to bring everybody down. Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
Please
It's all
don't.
good.
She's gonna listen to this episode.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then she's gonna be like, I wonder what they said after I left. And then she's gonna hear whale dicks, and that's gonna be the end of it.
Well, we gotta get that in for Jay. There's some certain inside jokes that we have that, comes on. What else?
Whatever do you mean?
You got to get the whale dicks in for Jay.
Whoa, hello.
Jeez.
That's what she said.
All right,
All right.
we found it at unfpod.com. There's merch there. It's available now. Come and get your FFED hashtag FFED t-shirt.
What does that stand for?
I don't know. Jay's not here to explain it.
Oh,
He'll tell us next week.
Yeah, at length. And might hear it Friday. I'm excited to hear about his experience in Seattle. That's an interesting NFL stadium to go to.
Yeah.
Widely considered the loudest in the NFL. It's hard to say who the 12th man belongs to, them or Texas A&M. I don't know. They're both loud from what I understand. But we can be found at unfpod.com. Going to have some new merch on there, I think Saturday. It depends on how it looks when it gets to my house tomorrow. If it looks good, we'll put it on the website.
Is it a beverage cup?
No, it is a hat.
Oh, we need a cup, a good cup.
We have a cup on there.
No, with the new logo on it. We need one of those.
Oh, that's easy. We'll put that one on. That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but we'll I've been asked specifically for a hat, so I got it. I didn't necessarily like the way it looked on the digital print, so I got one coming here. Yeah, we'll see how it looks. But if there's nothing else, gentlemen,
No.
All right. Stay tuned. We have a special guest, probably not next week, but probably the week after, that's going to come on with us that sent me an email while we were recording this tonight.
Whoa.
So I'll tell you guys about that, but I'm going to tease it. It's not going to be next week, possibly the week after, definitely before the week after that. As we get into the holidays are coming up, guys. So as we get into that, but we're at UNF Pod on Twitter, unfpod.com. I know I've said that like 9 times, but we want to thank our guest, MK Kathy McDaniel. The name of the book is Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat, available Amazon. It's a bestseller on there, and go buy it. It's an interesting story after you listen to this, of course. For Beebs, for St. Joe, my name is the Keb. We'll catch you guys next week.
Catch you on the flippity flop.
The opinions on this podcast may strike some listeners as vulgar, offensive, or worst of all, serious. Please adjust your expectations and interpretations accordingly. In other words, lighten the up. For all other concerns, complaints, and court documents, please direct those towards the nearest brick wall. Thank you for listening.